With the Marvel Cinematic Universe leaving the Infinity Saga behind, fans saw the post-Endgame saga as a chance for the franchise to reset, to build pre-existing characters, and slowly introduce new characters to prepare for the next carefully planned supervillain. At least, this was the fans' expectation. What we actually got was much worse. The MCU is now a shell of its former self. Every new project seems to consistently outdo its predecessor by progressively getting worse. Phase 4 started off, well, in 2021 with 2 mediocre movies, and then an absolute banger of a movie, Spider-Man No Way Home. As it went on though, each project started seeming completely distant and independent of other projects, which became very concerning. We'll talk about this issue again later. One of the mediocre movies from 2021 was Eternals, a seemingly obscure movie about a brand new cast of superheroes who just randomly existed on Earth and helped shape humanity. Okay, so the concept is a bit shaky, but we can let that pass, right? Enter the Celestials, one of actually 3 antagonists in this movie. This movie tried so hard to do so many things at once, and it gets so confusing. According to Arishheim the Judge, I'm pretty sure I'm reading your name right. The Prime Celestial, the Celestials created the universe, and that each world is basically a giant egg with a Celestial inside, and once a civilization has enough intelligent life forms, the Celestial bursts forth and completely annihilates the world. That's the simple explanation. They're just gonna casually drop the Celestials, these like reality creating gods, and then only mention them now. Let's take a step back real quick. There's a lot of exposition and lore dumping in this movie. It makes my head hurt just thinking about it. To sum up the role of the Celestials in this movie, the Celestials created the universe and decided to create deviants to help speed the process of creating Celestials. However, the deviants went rogue, so the Celestials created Eternals to basically clean up the messes that the deviants made and to defend budding civilizations from getting absolutely wiped out from the deviants. In this movie, the deviants start causing some goofy shenanigans on Earth and the Eternals have to stop them. However, the Eternals start questioning the true motives of the Celestials, who explain that there's a delicate balance of life and death in the universe that all ultimately boils down to the birth of Celestials. The Eternals, now attached to humanity and unwilling to let civilization die, rebel against the Celestials, who are honestly kinda shocked to see their creations working against the balance like this. The Eternals are then against the clock to stop the Deviants, the Celestial inside Earth, and one of their own Icarus, all simultaneously. Eventually, the Celestial begins to emerge out of the Earth's core in the Indian Ocean. This should have already destroyed like 90% of Asia already, but it doesn't, because Earth has plot armor stronger than the Hulk on steroids. Needless to say, the day is won when the Celestial is frozen and turned into marble, and then Arishheim kidnaps some of the Eternals, and then the movie ends with no significance to literally anything in the MCU at all. Whew. That was a lot of nonsense to spew out all at once. And yes, this was all done in 157 minutes. Well done, Marvel. Another completely irrelevant mess of a movie that is simultaneously too overambitious and underwhelming with the story. Great work. Honestly, the only thing interesting about this movie was how important the Celestials were to the lore of the MCU, and that really got me thinking, what would Phase 4 and Phase 5 of the MCU look like if the Celestials were the main antagonists of the MCU rather than Kang? The Celestials have had a lot of significance in the comics, being practically the gods of the universe while simultaneously looking absolutely amazing. Like, look at these character designs, they're just so cool. They actually help fight against Thanos in the Infinity Gauntlet saga, and are known to be involved in just about every major cosmic event in the subsequent years. Now, let's compare that to all the times we've seen the Celestials in the MCU. In Guardians of the Galaxy, when the Collector reveals what the Power Stone can do, we see a Celestial destroy an entire civilization with the stone. We also see the head of a Celestial being used as the intergalactic space station known as Nowhere. Star-Lord's dad, Ego, is revealed to be a Celestial in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which is kinda just casually dropped and then dismissed as a throwaway piece of dialogue, specifically to get nerds like myself to shift in our seats a little and say, "Oh, he said Celestial, he said the thing!" Obviously, Celestials had a big role in Eternals, like we just discussed, And the last major time that we see Celestials at this point in the MCU is Thor: Love and Thunder. And they kind of just appear, and then we never see them again. This isn't every last instance we see the Celestials in the MCU, but they're the most, well, significant? Are they even that significant at all? And this is where my problem lies. These creators of existence have very little to no impact or relevance to literally anything going on in the MCU. Now, don't get me wrong, during the Infinity Saga, this is okay, because there's already a clear and set storyline going, and a definitive antagonist in the form of Thanos. And now, in the shapeless void of bizarre nothingness that is post-Endgame, we've got our new main antagonist, Kang the Conqueror. Oh, maybe we don't. Phases 4 and 5 are all focusing on the concept of the multiverse, filled with infinite alternate timelines and possibilities. Now, it's unsure if the Celestials were involved at all in making the multiverse, or just naturally began forming on its own like we see in Loki, but this would be the perfect time to have the Celestials be the big baddies of the franchise. We've already established that these giant space gods are a major threat to the universe when they're angered, because the MCU keeps liking to raise the stakes every 5 seconds. But it would also be perfect for a good number of new characters that Marvel keeps introducing. Marvel's gone through a bit of power creep lately, where each new hero seems to be even more powerful than the one before. And while not every character would have much of a chance against a giant space robot bigger than the entire planet, they would be perfectly suited to have a war on Earth against an army of deviants designed to take Earth down as a sort of punishment designed for the Eternals. This would also make more overpowered characters like Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, and Scarlet Witch more enjoyable to watch, because they would all have to work together to stop an even bigger threat, exactly like the Avengers did with Thanos in Infinity War and Endgame. And you could actually make the Eternals relevant to the lore, or, actually do something important outside of their random standalone film. Just saying. But because we have the multiverse, and we sort of have Kang, and we have the TVA, I just don't see the Celestials having any sort of major significance other than a few meaningless cameos, and that just really disappoints me. The Celestials are just such cool characters, and they seem like really appealing antagonists from a lore impact standpoint and from a marketing standpoint. Seeing an advertisement for an Avengers movie fighting against Celestials would just be so cool, right? Overall, I think that the Celestials are severely underutilized in the MCU so far. Maybe Marvel can remember that they exist and then actually use them in a future project, who knows? All we can do is hope. But you know what they say about the MCU nowadays? There is no Iron Man, there is no common sense or logic, and there is no Queen of England. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you wouldn't mind, consider subscribing and liking the video, and leaving a comment about what do you think about the Celestials in the MCU. Do you think that there's been enough going on for the Celestials, or do you think that there's room to grow? That's gonna wrap it up for this video. I've been Pkip2. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always,
remember, reality is an illusion, the universe is a hologram. Bye, gold, bye!